In Focus Seattle radio host Jason Rantz, I understand why all the left-leaning news organizations have a problem with CBS finally being, I don't know, responsible and making sure that the facts are reported accurately. Could that possibly be the reason why it didn't air?
I'm assuming that's exactly why. All of this pearl clutching because they're not able to continue their smears and one-sided hot takes over at 60 Minutes is precisely why Bari Weiss is there, to fix 60 Minutes. This idea that you should be able to, as a reporter, just go through a lawyer to say, oh, no, everything on here is cleared by the lawyer, as if that means anything as it relates to the basic fairness of the piece. The piece has been published in Canada. I watched it earlier this morning. It's not particularly good. It's mostly advocacy journalism. And I think that that's what Bari Weiss saw here, that without the other side represented in some meaningful and reasonable way, it just becomes advocacy journalism. And that's clearly not what Bari Weiss wants to do with 60 Minutes. 60 Minutes used to be a great spot for really deep dive, investigative, and important journalism. But it has since, unfortunately, become left-wing smear tactics.
Right. Well, CBS has a record, too, for misreporting. I mean, Dan Rather lost his job over it, and the producer. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, for somebody to come in and finally take responsibility, that's supposed to be refreshing. Maybe they re-release it after giving the whole story and not just part of the story, which is what a lot of these, news organizations do. But 60 Minutes correspondent Sharon Alonsi came under fire in 2021 over a 60 Minutes segment. She challenged Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and painted a narrative that he'd given supermarket chain Publix preferential treatment on distributing COVID vaccines after the supermarket's PAC donated to his campaign. Now, the story drew significant criticism for many reasons, including from Democrats, actually, because Publix had more than 800 locations in the state. It made it an ideal location for distributing the vaccine in a state with a high senior population. So this was misreporting. If she wants to start calling something political, well, then that right there, that's political motivation. And hypocrisy.
Well, it was misreporting. It was misreporting that also went through standards and practice and legal. So this whole idea, again, that they're using that as some sort of justification to publish is ridiculous. And of course, in that case, you had Governor DeSantis responding in detail as to why the story was false at a press conference that was almost entirely cut from the actual 60 Minutes piece so that they could say he wouldn't agree to do a sit-down interview. But he actually responded to everything that was in the story and proved it to be false, but didn't like the reporting, so they just didn't include the bulk of his comments. That is what this is about. This particular correspondent is someone who's very far to the left, or at least presents that way, and isn't really interested in anything other than advocacy journalism. And if that's what you want, you can go work for NPR.
Yeah. By the way, Hunter Biden is shocking a lot of people today. He's decrying the ultra-rich for never facing consequences. He even got a massive pardon for his own crimes, as we know. But the former first son didn't hold back. In a marathon conversation on the Sean Ryan show, he opened up about the personal fallout of his legal battles as well. Listen.
I've been tied up in criminal and civil and in courts, and I mean, like I got I don't know, 14, 15 million dollars in debt that I have no idea that I'm off. I have I mean, millions of dollars in debt that nobody's riding to the rescue for Hunter Biden.
Hunter Biden had been under federal investigation since 2018, by the way. He was charged with 3 felony firearm offenses in 2023. Then he was found guilty on those charges in 2024. He was also indicted for federal tax crimes in 2023 over the failure to pay at least $1.4 million in taxes. I'm not sure what the purpose of this interview was. I do understand, and I actually appreciate the comments that he made when he actually acknowledged the fact that his president father made some mistakes when it comes to illegal immigration and Afghanistan, and we'll get to that in a second. But why do we care about Hunter Biden being in debt? I mean, join the club. Maybe not in the tens of millions of dollars for Americans, but there's a lot of debt in this country, and I don't think anybody is going to be feeling sorry for Hunter.
Yeah, I don't imagine anyone will feel sorry for him. This is not a good guy. I mean, I get that he's struggling to sell his artwork now that his dad isn't president, and so probably doesn't have a whole lot of money coming through. But this is not someone that you turn to and say, you know, this is a real victim. He wants to present himself as a victim. Perhaps he's going to set up some Substack at some point where he maybe provides some analysis that goes against what his dad did as president and hopes to charge people for it. That's the only thing I can really think of at this point. He's not going to write a tell-all book that anyone's going to pay for as a publisher or anyone as a reader is going to pay for to read. So I don't see where this is headed outside of maybe this niche of trying to get a small group of people who will give him some money.
I think a book that would sell is if he actually came clean on all the stuff that he helped cover up for his father when he was in office, because I think this part of the interview where he talks about the botched Afghanistan project that was led by his father, he went on to acknowledge it and admitted that his dad was wrong. He even admits that his father even knew he was wrong, which that was news. Let's watch this.
I think one of the failures was the way in which they executed the withdrawal from Afghanistan. I think it was an obvious failure. I think 13 Marines are dead. I think that there was a better way to do it. And I think that, and I can blame it on his generals. I can blame it on the people, the way in which we did it. But my dad always knew this also, is that the buck stops with him. I think that was a failure.
I think that if he wrote a book on his dad's failures, that could actually be a New York Times bestseller.
If it was an honest book, but unfortunately, my guess is you get some little snippets like that, and the rest is basically a Karine Jean-Pierre book, which just completely whitewashes everything that happened and gaslights us even more. So I doubt he's going to be truly honest. I don't know who the audience is for that.
Yeah. All right, Jason Rantz, thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.